The second tactic Babylon used to conform people to their culture and morals was indoctrination. Indoctrination. Again, verse 3. The king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel, some of the king's descendants, some of the nobles, young men, in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, of whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. The best and brightest young men from Judah will be enrolled in a 3-year program at Babylon State University with full scholarship. And they will learn, it says, the language and the literature of Babylon. And that would have included astronomy and astrology, architecture, mathematics. The Babylonians were very advanced in mathematics. It would have also included the Babylonian pagan religions. And understand, the purpose of this education was not just to get a liberal arts degree and then figure out what they're going to do with their lives. Right? The purpose of this education was to make these Hebrew men Babylonians. To make these Hebrew men Babylonians, so that they would abandon their Hebrew mindset and adopt a Babylonian mindset and values and beliefs. The purpose was to deconstruct what they believed and reprogram them to be Babylonians. You know, there's so much indoctrination happening today in our education system, where children are being indoctrinated into things that are anti-God, anti-Bible, and anti-biblical worldview. It used to be that happened when you got to college. Now it's happening beginning in elementary school and all the way through to college. And I want to encourage you as a parent, if you have children in the school system, to watch closely what your children are learning in school. And ask their teachers for copies of the curriculum and read the books that they're reading. And know what your kids are getting exposed to, and ask the teachers questions about what they're teaching in the classroom to your children. Be engaged in your children's school and with your children about their education, because there's indoctrination taking place. There's indoctrination through social media and through the news and just the culture. There's so much indoctrination in the culture. And we have to be discerning, be aware of these things, and be wise to these things. The people want us to think a certain way that quite often is contrary to God's Word. Now, that brings us again to verse 5. Look at verse 5. It says that the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank. So the young men in this program were appointed food from the king's delicacies and wine, or the king's wine. The young men in this program lived like kings, literally. They ate the same food the king ate. They drank the same wine the king drank. Again, they're teenagers that have been snatched away from their home. They're slaves. Now they're given the opportunity to eat the king's food and drink the king's wine and be educated in the best Babylonian schools and serve in the king's palace. And again, all of this was done to seduce the young men into conforming to the culture. Remember, these are teenage boys. You want to win over a teenage boy? Take him to a buffet every day for 3 years. And again, as I just said, they're far from home. Their parents aren't around. No one will ever know if they partake in the wine and the food. It's a 15, 16-year-old. You can compromise and get away with it. Nobody's ever going to know. And then at the end of this program, these young men will have a job serving the king. Great job waiting for them. Now, from among these men were the sons of Judah, were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. But to them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah, Shadrach, to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah, Abed-Nego. Another tactic Babylon used to assimilate these Hebrew boys into Babylonian culture was to alter their identity. To alter their identity. Each of these young men have very strong, God-honoring names. Daniel means God is my judge. Hananiah means Yahweh is gracious. Mishael means who is like our God. Azariah means Yahweh is my help. They were each given new names that erased any connection to their past as Hebrews. And their new names honored Babylonian gods. Daniel's name was changed to Belteshazzar. Belteshazzar means Bel protects his life. Bel was a Babylonian god. Hananiah was changed to Shadrach, which means the command of Aku. Aku was a Babylonian god. Mishael was changed to Meshach, which means who is like Aku. Azariah was changed to Abed-Nego, which means the servant of Nebo. Again, another Babylonian god. Again, this is the tactic of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar wanted Daniel and his three friends to forget Jerusalem, forget their God, forget their temple, and everything related to their Jewish history, culture, and heritage. He wanted to erase their history. Today we would say he wanted to cancel it. He wanted to cancel it. Again, we see this tactic today. But Daniel and his friends did not forget their God. In Daniel chapter 6, when we get there, not tonight, don't worry, but in Daniel chapter 6, almost 70 years later, we see Daniel still in Babylon, and he is praying to Yahweh.